don't matter what your name is, share your story. We'll be waiting for the haters won't.
Welcome back. We're jumping right back into the conversation. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, we definitely recommend starting there. Let's get back into it.
I actually have a letter that I want to read you.
Yeah.
Of something that he sent me in boot camp.
Yeah.
And it's just wacky. And you're going to see why in just a minute. So it's this one. Yes. He called me his angel. So he said like to my angel or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he said, it reads like this. Hey babe, I don't really have time to write any letters right now, except during class, which I've only done once, I promise. And at night, which I'm doing right now. I've been assigned to Charlie Company, which is the toughest company San Diego has to offer. And the platoon I'm in has the best drill instructors in the company. The mental side of boot camp isn't so bad, but the physical side is rough, really rough. He was a little bit bigger at the time, so he was having a little bit of tough time. You have no idea how much I love you. I think about you constantly, and when I do, I almost bust out crying. Like during PT today, while we were doing our 1.5 mile run, I was holding myself back from crying. You have no idea how much I miss you. Good news, though. I'll be graduating April 20th, which is today.
Oh, wow.
Which is freaking crazy.
Wild.
So this was 1/29/2007. He also put sometime during the night, which is
sometime during the night,
which is so funny to me. But he said, I've started becoming a little bit more religious since church on Sunday. And then he put a couple of lines of
scripture,
some scripture. And then he said, right now, faith and determination is the only thing keeping me going here. I need some support from you. My love for you keeps me going most of all. I hope everything is going well for you back home. I stay dedicated to your schoolwork. I do not want you to fail because of me. Let everyone know I'm all right. Anyways, I love you. Please don't give up on me. Your teddy bear. Love, Jake.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
How beautiful is it that you have like just something like that to keep too, and that you've kept it safe?
So I have about 10 of these letters, which is crazy because back then, I mean, even now, it's not, I mean, now I believe there's like you can just like write messages to somebody when they're in boot camp, and it's not necessarily how it was back then where, people are actually writing you letters because they're overseas and they can't talk all of the time. And so those letters are really like a treasure to me because I have about like 8 or 9 of them. He was in boot camp for 3 months. And so I've accumulated and kept all of them. And, it's very interesting because those are really, besides all my mementos and everything, but those are really like the one thing that I read in his voice and I kind of remember. I mean, it's been 15 years. So, you just forget certain things about people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just is the way it is. I hated thinking about that when it first happened. Because I'm like, oh, I'll never forget, the way the way he laughs or like the way he, carries himself or who he is or whatever. Like that's something that I will never forget about him. And then it just happens.
Yeah.
And then you kind of look back and you're like, I don't even remember like anything about him personally other than, obviously he was, I remember certain things like he was funny, he was this or that. But then I read those letters and I'm like, my gosh, like that man really loved me, didn't he? Like all those words were just so like wonderful and loving and all of the things. And he was really looking for that support in that time because he was going through a lot and, trying to really dedicate himself to being a Marine and really learning how to do all of that. So they go through, and I have another letter in there where he talks about, oh, now I have to do this, and then we're going to do the crucible and all of the things that they have to do. And basically the crucible is just like a bunch of really like tough shit, just like do this all day, like run
A part of the training.
7.5 miles, like, or whatever, just you really have to be mentally tough to kind of go through that boot camp era. And so with that being said, while he was in boot camp, he had actually called his dad up and was like, hey, so I'm really concerned about Crystal, and, I don't want her to, get, distracted with anything. I want her to, like apply herself and, all of the things, succeed, all of the things. And he was like, but I just don't think it's going to be possible with her living with her mom. Do you think that she can come live with you? And his dad was like, well, I'm not just going to invite somebody, my son's girlfriend, to like come live with me without talking to her mom first. Like, it's the whole like talk to the parents type of thing too, right? And I don't know the conversation that my father-in-law and my mom had, but I'm guessing that my father-in-law really advocated for me, and I went to go live with my to live with my father-in-law. And so I finished high school, about 2 months of that. While Jake was in boot camp, I was finishing high school and finished it living in Jake's room. And, it was really nice because the school was closer. It's closer to my job that I had. And so everything kind of worked out. And so I finally kind of felt like, okay, like this is kind of giving me a little bit of stability. I didn't think about it like that. I just thought about it as like me living life. But it provided me that stability that I really needed.
Yeah.
Just from everything that had kind of been happening up to that point. And and so he moved. Sorry.
You're good.
Hope that it's not like messing with the sound or
okay.
nothing. Okay. I'm like a hand talker. So I mean, when we were, let's see, we're up to boot camp. So he got out of boot camp April 20th, which is crazy. That's today. And so me and his mom and his dad and his sister went to go see him graduate. We went to San Diego to go see him graduate. And I just really remember, I have really no memory of that trip whatsoever, other than being like really, really excited and happy to see him once I did see him. And he was completely a different person. Like just super distinguished, super like gentlemanly, like very, I mean, he still had that sense of humor and that playfulness, of course, with me. But, he was he was a different person. He really, really matured him. He was going through a lot at the time. Both of his parents got a divorce. There's a lot of stuff going on for him too, as well, with his family and everything. And so he had a lot of depression about it. And there were a lot of struggles. Like, he definitely at one point did contemplate suicide. And I don't say that like lightly or, trigger warning, but maybe you're supposed to say the trigger warning before.
I put trigger warnings before all the episodes, so you're fine.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, and so so he was going through his own demons, but the reason why I say that is because it's just so amazing to me that he had that empathy for me, and he saw like everything that I was going through, and even though he was going through things internally, he saw like what I was going through, and he was like, I just love her. I want to help her. I want to,
Well, he probably understood pain, right? I mean, he understood the pain that he was going through and didn't want to see someone that he loved and cared about so much to feel any way that he did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how I think all people in pain kind of feel too.
Yeah.
is
I think that you see a lot more empathy from people that just have those struggles. So I can understand why he cared for you in the way that he did, because I'm sure in a way it was like how he kind of thought that he needed to be cared for, but needed to do that for someone else because he didn't care about himself enough to do it for him.
Absolutely. And he finally, I think, found somebody who would do that for him too. And so I think it really just the journey, like both our life journeys kind of just intertwined perfectly in that sense. And so when he left boot camp, they have 3 choices that they can essentially pick certain areas where they want to be deployed in. And so one of the areas that he picked, of course, was Jacksonville, North Carolina, because it was close to us and we could, go out and live our lives and things like that. Then I think the other one maybe was like somewhere in Germany. And then another place was in Okinawa, Japan. And so they gave him, he wanted, obviously, North Carolina. They gave him Okinawa, Japan. So wonderful. And so, that was something that was really tough. He was in Okinawa, Japan for about 2 years altogether. And so he was doing, a lot of work over there. And it's actually a dream come true for a Marine to actually not be stateside, because then you have to be like what they call, and military people know what I mean. They call them like glorified, like janitors, essentially, because in uniforms, because literally all they do while they're stateside is like do just like
Clean up,
just chump work, like literally just like cleaning walls and like whatever else. And so he really wanted to, that's what he really wanted to do. And of course, when you have someone that you really love, you want them to do whatever it is that they want, whatever makes their heart sing. Like you want them to do that. And so they, so he did. And unfortunately, he went over to Okinawa. So we again had like that long distance relationship. So he was able to, it's not like boot camp, right? So he was able to call, but his, because it's like the next day and it is, so if it's like midnight our time then difference. It's like 12 o'clock the next day for him. So like he had to time these calls out and things. And there were a lot of issues in our relationship. There started to become a lot of issues in our relationship, mostly because we were young and, even adults like myself, if I had a long distance husband, like I would be like, this is bullshit. Like, no, like, and I would hate because like the jealousy starts to creep in, not necessarily of like, he's interested in another girl or whatever, but more so like,
you don't have that
I'm
connection.
Not part of your life. Like you're off doing all of these things. I'm off doing all of these things. And it doesn't feel like we're very connected at all. And so at 18, 19, it really brought a lot of turmoil for us in our relationship, unfortunately. And I don't know, I can't say for certain whether our relationship would have survived that. If I'm being completely honest, I think it was definitely, there was just a lot going on as far as, us trying to bring both of our best selves into a relationship. You can't do that when that person's so far away.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I went to go stay. It was kind of our last ditch effort, but I went to go stay with him for 3 months in Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
And so he just, my grandparents actually paid for the flight over to Okinawa. I basically came to them and I said, hey, like, I really want to do this. And, my grandma, who's like this strict, like Italian woman's like, absolutely not. You're not going across the whole world and blah, blah, blah. My grandpa was like, always wanted to do everything he could for me. Like definitely a daddy's girl in that way. And so he basically convinced my grandma. He was like, just let her go, blah, 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 this, that, the other. And so they paid for my flight and I went for 3 months. I actually lived And it's been so long now, so I don't think I'll get in trouble, but or anybody else in trouble. But I lived in the barracks for 3 months, which you're not allowed to do at all if you're not in the military. But we had, the insiders. We knew some of the people who were the barracks managers and things like that. And so they had some of the rooms that were empty, and they would just like kind of move me from each room each time. And so I had literally like one bag of clothes for 3 months. And, I would just do my laundry with, Jake's laundry whenever he would do laundry and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a whole different world over there. I mean,
What an experience.
just crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fun though. I mean, it was a fun experience because the whole, island, I'm not very like geographical, but like the whole island is literally like 30 miles long. So it only takes like maybe an hour and a half to go from one end of the island to the other. It's a very small island. So like, you would take the bus because they would have different buses to different bases and things. You would take the bus to a certain area, and then from that certain area, you would take like a taxi, and they called them ponchos, essentially is what they would call them. And they would, and we would go out to like the bars or whatever that were around in Okinawa and, hang out and with all of the other Marines and stuff like that. And so definitely a Marine town, military wife town type of situation as well. Amazing like food, cuisine, all of the things. So it was a lot of fun. But also very at that point in time, our relationship, we were really trying to connect back, and it worked for somewhat, but I was like, I need you home. I mean, it's just like, it's hard. It really is. And he's like, well, I come home, the end of the summer, but he's like, I have some, good news for you. In this, like, I think I'm going to be able to come home earlier, so we should have our wedding. And I was like, 2 months away? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how am I going to, plan this wedding in 2 months? Like, and he's like, well, we got to do it because like, I'll have my orders to Jacksonville, North Carolina, in August. So like, I'm like, he's like, we have to do it. I was like, all right. I was like, let's do it. Yeah. Whatever. And so so I went back to the United States, and and then he came back shortly after, and I had his mom help me with the wedding. And so she planned and, the whole wedding, she like essentially paid for the whole wedding, because clearly like me and Jake and my mom were not the ones to do it. And so she paid for the whole wedding, and I remember it was a beautiful day. My grandpa was able to walk me down the aisle, which is literally the only thing that I wanted in my whole life. Like that's the only thing at that point in time. It's literally it was so important to me, especially because of all the things that my grandfather had been through. He had, at that point in time, he was recovering from testicular cancer. He was also, had a lot of other issues going on. But one of the biggest things was he had his foot or his leg amputated.
Oh, wow.
And so he was learning how to re-walk, and he hadn't done it in public, like at all. And so he did it for my wedding, which was really special and amazing for me. If you want me to cry, talk about like my grandparents, because like that's the thing that will like get me to really, really like tear up. But this, like, I have this picture right here, for instance. This is like the day that he walked me down the aisle, and Jake's like standing right there, kind of like looking at me. And I remember like, I remember, kind of funny, but I actually remember, because we didn't practice like going down the aisle or nothing like that. I literally was like, because all of my friends and family were there and everything. But I literally had my grandpa in this hand or whatever, and I was like, and we just like stopped like at the middle of the thing, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I have no idea. And like, I'm just like, he's like, shh. And I'm like, no. And, you know, so it's just one of those things where I have all of those core memories of that day, and that's really special to me. And then of course, you know, when we got married, after we got married, we moved to Jacksonville, North Carolina, and it was absolutely amazing. I mean, for the first time, I was like, I'm married, like I now have a husband, and we're, you know, gonna live our cute little lives and whatever. And we moved down there literally, like, I don't know what we were thinking. We moved down there with our car and our stuff. Like, we didn't secure housing, like we didn't do anything. If me or my husband ever at this point in time, if my now husband and me were ever starting to like move anywhere and that were to happen, like we took our stuff, like the heck, like, I don't have that type of free like spirit anymore as far as that goes. Like, we need a plan.
Yeah,
dude.
I think
like,
that's just a part of growing, right? And like getting older though. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we didn't have anything. We literally just had like, okay, we know we need to come down on this time, and so that's kind of it. And then we'll figure it out when we get there. So we slept on couches of our friends that we knew down there. We for a couple days, and then we were able to get into. There's like this motel on the base that they actually pay for you to stay at while you're kind of transitioning, and so we did that for I think about 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then we were able to get into our apartment to finally like start putting all of our stuff in. And
your first home.
Yeah, everything. It was amazing. It was like a great feeling because, you know, me and Jake, like, we had already been through a lot of tumultuous things in our relationship. So we just kind of felt like this time maybe was like a new beginning for us.
I'm sure it felt like a new beginning for you as well, right? Like finally something that, like a place that you could build and start the foundation of, instead of it being other people's choices of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was a very special time to get to reconnect with him because I didn't, for all those years, I mean, it was probably like 3 years that we didn't really have a very, very deep relationship. It was very much surfacey. It was very much like jealousy. Yeah. And those are all like, I always say jealousy is a very surface emotion in that way because it's always hiding something deeper, whether that be, you know, there's different things, but you know, it was an exciting time in my life. And so I was ready for it. And we, you know, met amazing, wonderful military wives that are still my friends to this day. They were at my wedding to my now husband. And, you know, it's very special. It's like you never lose those types of relationships. Yeah. And so we, everything was going great. It was about 2-3 months or so of just, you know, living life as a military wife. You know, him getting used to him coming home like dirty and whatever, because they had been doing, you know, running drills and things like that throughout the day. And then in December, the middle of December, there was some talk, actually in the beginning of December, about them deploying and but it wasn't like a sure thing. So they were just like, you know, it's always up in the air no matter what. So it's just the part of being a military wife that you're just always prepared for anyways. And we had been through, you know, obviously him being over in Okinawa. And so, you know, at that point in time, it was nothing new. And so we were like, oh, well, they may go, they may not. But the one thing that we do know is you guys are going to have Christmas with them. So we're like, okay, great. Like, we'll have our first Christmas together, and then maybe he'll be gone in January, and then, you know, gone for like a full year, essentially, is what it is. It's like 8 months, 8-9 months is usually what a deployment is. And so, you know, when you prepare, you have to prepare for that too as well. And so we were we were just getting prepared as far as, getting like a routine down, all of the things. And then he comes home on December 10th and he says, they told us today that we're deploying, within the next 2 weeks. We don't know exactly what day or whatever, but we're deploying. And I'm like, oh, before Christmas? And he's like, yeah, unfortunately, it's just, we have to. Mm-hmm. And I would come to find out later, not even from him, but like come to find out later from a documentary that I watched that it was actually them going and training the Afghani soldiers. And so they had to go over and train all of the Afghani soldiers and whatever before they went into wherever they were going to go.
Wow.
And so we didn't know that at that point in time. When they told us that they were being deployed, and did I mention that? I think I did, that it was supposed to be after Christmas.
Correct,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was supposed to be after Christmas and we were really upset that it was before, but it was, nothing new, of course, because you have to, as a military wife, you just have to deal with what comes. And so they actually ended up getting deployed December 14th, 2009. And so, at that point in time, all of our military wives kind of got together in our little group and saw them off. And, it was one of those, always a tearful goodbye, always, always that thought in the back of your head, but you never really think that you're like, that happens to that happens to like other people, not me type of thing. So, a couple months pass by, we're just talking like normally, nothing, just calling here and there. He was really busy though with training the Afghani soldiers and doing whatever that they had to do. So he barely, it was probably like once a week that he was able to call. Mm-hmm. And they have to get on, like when they're calling overseas, like it's not like how it is, I believe, what would be today. They're in the desert, mm-hmm. like there's no like Wi-Fi or like cell phone service. Like it's very minimal. They have a computer system for them to go online so they can email people, things like that. But it's very, I'm sure today it would be very, much more technologically advanced and connected. But also it's just like a normal part, right? Like you have other people in your life too that you communicate with, not just, your mm-hmm. relationship and stuff. So, that was hard for me, as always. But I guess right now, like we're really up to, the day of that I got really the call. So actually, I would say about 12 hours before I got the notification, Jake called me and he was like, hey, so we're actually being deployed into Marja, Afghanistan. And we're going to do this like long 6-month type of thing that we've been training to do for this whole time. We're essentially going to go into it. It would essentially become what's called Operation Mashtarik, where they're essentially getting the Taliban all out of this little part, Marja, Afghanistan, mm-hmm. and they're trying to essentially help all of the innocent, people civilians, kind of get back and take back their home, essentially. So they have like different like bazaars and, different like they sell their foods and things like that to mm-hmm. other people. And, so it was a very, they were just trying to help them to take back all of those things that the Taliban were kind of taking a hold of, or killing off other people, all of the things. And so he basically had explained like, it'll be about 6 to 8 months before I really get to talk to you again. So, like, I love you, kind of those types of words. And he was just talking like normal though. He was literally like he was actually telling me about, it's funny. He was telling me about he had a blood blister on his butt. And he was like, I kept on telling him to like go to the emergency type of doctor that they had on site. and get it checked out because he said it was like really bothering him. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're in like the dirt every day. Like, you know, like go and get it checked out. Finally, being a good husband, I did learn that he went to go check it out. But he after he got off the call with me, they were essentially deployed that morning. And so, I'm sure you can link it below, but there's an HBO special where they show exactly what that whole plan was like and mission. And it's very, very interesting. It's a very interesting documentary in general, just to learn more about like that side of things that I didn't know about that were happening. And they do the whole nine. I mean, they like when they rush in, they rush in. Like they literally just like have all of these different I mean, it's crazy. Like they have all of these different helicopters and like big, huge planes that they have the Marines in, and they're just, you know, like parachuting down and going down and, you know, like have their guns in there. It's the whole thing. Like, and I just didn't realize it until I kind of watched that documentary that like, wow, like that's what he's been doing, or that's what he's doing. Like that takes so much courage and like resilience and toughness to really be in a situation like that. I mean, and so from there, that day, obviously I was sleeping. So when they actually were getting deployed in, we were like, I think it was like 3 a.m, like our time, essentially. And so I go like, I mean, it was a normal day. I went to the grocery store, came back, had some lunch, and I get a knock at my door. And there had been some issues with certain people being naughty to the military wives. And, you know, when you open the door, you know, just you have to be safe about the situation. And so Jake had always told me, look through the peephole before you open the door. And so I looked through the peephole and I saw like this brown uniform, and I was like, oh, it's like the UPS guy. Awesome. So I literally open up the door and there's 3 men standing at my door. And it doesn't hit me because in your situation like that, you're never prepared for that in that way.
Yeah.
And then I go and, you know, they come in and they're like, you know, is your husband Jacob Turbet? And I was like, yes. I honestly thought they were going to tell me that like he was injured. That was what I was prepared for. And so when they told me that he had died, I was just like completely confused. I was like, I literally just talked to him 12 hours ago. Like, this cannot be right. Like, are you guys sure you have like your whatever, right? Like, yeah. And I was literally asking them that as they told me. I mean, it's like the whole 9 yards, you know, it's like they come to your house. And same thing with my father and mother-in-law, they do it at the same time. So it's, you know, kind of in unison. So it's never like somebody, you know,
is finding out before another.
Yeah. Before another person. They're very like, they plan it out and they're very methodical like that. And so it was nice that way. However, when everything was going on, first of all, they wouldn't leave. And I mean, clearly it's clear now why they wouldn't leave, because obviously they don't want you to, you know, do something or whatever. But for me, it was never like that for me. But, you know, of course I understood, but I was just like, I don't understand why these people won't just leave my house. Like, I definitely just need a moment, like by myself. We had a 1-bedroom apartment, so it wasn't like a big apartment. So there's 3 men in my house, and I'm just like, I just need a moment. Okay. Like, I'm not gonna, you know, I promise you, I'm not gonna do anything to hurt myself. Okay. I'm just like, can you all just like leave for just a moment? And they were like, not until somebody comes and, you know, is with you. And I was like, okay. So I called one of my military friends up, and she was actually about an hour and 30 minutes away, spending the night at like one of her friends' houses. And so I told her what happened. And she was like, yeah, I'm coming. Like, just, like I'll be right there type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I called one of my other friends who had just actually gone down to where she is from in Florida. And I asked her, I was like, do you know what's happening? Like this, Jake passed away. Make sure to check on her husband, because her husband was deployed with Jake. And we actually, at that point in time, we were all in like chaos, like, because where is Jake that like her husband wasn't? Because mm-hmm. like they were best friends. They all of them together in mm-hmm. that platoon, like they literally were just always together. And so I was like, where is your husband? And we heard that there was more people that this happened to, like it was just an ambush type of situation is what we were hearing. And so we were like all just like freaking out. Yeah. And it only turns out that, Jake was killed, but at that point in time, we just really didn't know anything. And so it was just all hell broke loose essentially. And so at that point in time, then they came to me while they were in the apartment. They came to me and they were like, okay, so we have an issue. And I'm like, what more of an issue could there be? You just told me my husband died. So like, what's going on? And they're like, well, your father and mother-in-law don't know. And I'm like, they don't know? Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, we went to the address for that Jake left for, your father-in-law, and he no longer lives there. And I was like, what's the address? And they were like, oh, it's, in mm-hmm. like Canton, Michigan, where he used to live. And I was like, oh no, he lives in Minnesota. Like Jake must have not, updated the paperwork or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And so then he's like, and we went to his mom's house and his mom isn't there. And I was like, oh, well, she might be at work. Like this is where she works. And they were like, oh, okay. Like, we'll see if like she's there. She's like, you know what? Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to have you call them both and see where they are. And I'm like,
so they want you to call and not tell them, but just call to see where they are. Got it.
And I'm like, how do I even like have mm-hmm. that? Like, how do I be like, hey, where are you? Because I'm in Jacksonville, North Carolina, but it's not like they were there too. Mm-hmm. It's not like they lived there too. So it was very odd for me to call up my mother and father-in-law and be like, where are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how does that play out? Do you call them and do you tell them, or do you call them and ask them where they are?
So they wanted me to do that, and there was absolutely no possible way that I could ever do that mm-hmm. to someone, knowing something about, a loved one. And mm-hmm. for what Jake's family did for me, early on, letting me live with them, treating me, so amazingly, and just, I don't know, like his mom paying for a whole wedding, like all of these things that they did for both of us because they loved us. I never had that when I was younger, as you can see in my story. And so when I have that, like, I cherish it and I'm so grateful for it. And so there's no possible way that I could have called them and just said, hey, where are you? Like, and them say why. And then like me be like, oh, no, for no special reason, but, I'm just wondering, or, oh, hey, how are you, type of thing. And so come to find out, his mom was at like a basket weaving convention. And so, they had to, like, they still wanted to go out there. So I still had to like get the information to them. But when I called them on the phone, I was literally like, I have to tell them. And so I did. And when I tell you that it is the most heartbreaking thing to tell somebody that the person that they love and of course adore, cherish, all of those things, but the person that they spend so much time and effort in, like parenting, and like that's just their family, and that's like their family unit, and it's now broken. And the just like these first reactions, it's really tough to hear that like first little like break in someone's heart, and knowing that you are the one that had like that is their core memory, is like that you have to be the one to tell them that's that thing, and to essentially ruin their lives. Like nobody wants to do that. It was very, very difficult for me. So I
And you're still
really don't know
really
how I
young
do
at
it.
this time,
I
right?
was 19.
Yeah, you're basically a child still.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely difficult. And then I was like, okay, so what's next? Because I was just kind of going through the motions at that point in time. I was like, well, this is the worst possible thing that could have happened to me. So, I mean, anything else, I guess, doesn't really matter at this point. And so they were like, oh, by the way, they're like, so what the plan is that because I was like, what happens next? And they were like, so what the plan is that you're going to meet your KCO, who is a casualty officer. You're going to meet your KCO, and you're actually going to Dover, Delaware tonight to meet his body.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, tonight. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna, you're gonna get on a flight in about, like around 6 or 7 o'clock. And I was like, oh, wonderful. Like, I'm so glad that my life is planned, apparently, or something, And so it just felt so like I know that's why they do it, but like, it felt so like, okay, this is what you do now. And then this is what you do now. It felt very like just programmed in that way, which is nice because, we didn't have to do any of that programming or like that planning and figuring all of that out. But I was still, I'm 19, I don't know what's happening or why or anything. And so, and I don't have the maturity or, any of that. And so it was a very difficult time. So we go to Dover, Delaware. His mom, and dad were there too as well. They left his dad was at his job. His mom was at the basket weaving convention, and they both left that night, and we met the bird outside. And actually I have pictures I'll show you later on of the actual it was actually really beautiful. It was snowing like crazy. Wow. It was right in the middle of February. So he died February 13th, 2010. And it was, it was a snowstorm. So, it was absolutely gorgeous. Just like the snow falling. It's midnight. And the like bird finally comes in, and they do all of the things that they have to do. We're, standing outside. There's like press outside and everything. So, it's like all of this is just happening, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like I still haven't even dealt with like this situation, and here I am just like doing all of this other shit. Like, and I'm like, it's happening. And so then they bring us into a room afterwards, and they have us pick his casket, and they have us pick all of the things that, and I just, like, I was like, I can't, like, I just left it up to his parents, and I just kind of like dealt with whatever. We also, as I mentioned, so we have a KCO, which is casualty officer, and everybody gets one. So each of the family members, so his sister Jamie and both my mother and father-in-law, also have one. And essentially it's just a person that helps you with any of the, forms and paperwork that you need to do to get like certain services or benefits through. And it also is just there for, a liaison for anything that you need to know, to kind of deal military wise, with the burial and all of that stuff. So he basically is the one to help us through this whole situation and kind of like plan it. Looking back, it's actually really amazing because he you don't sign up to be a casualty officer in the military. What happens is they actually get something across their desk at, whatever time, 6, 7 a.m. in the morning or whatever time it happens. And they're like, that's your assignment for the next, 2, 3, 4 months, something like that. That's your assignment. They're not prepared. They're not, whatever. They just have to learn and go forth and do. And so my Keiko was I think he was probably like a 50-year-old man. He was a army or a military officer. And he was amazing. But he was just like, he was probably like, oh my God, this poor girl, like this poor 19-year-old girl who literally, like, he was probably so worried about me and everything from what I was experiencing. Because you tell me, in the midst of, after going to Dover, Delaware and going back, it finally kind of set in. We were watching, my friends and I were all watching the news, and we would, smoke weed, we would, drink a lot of alcohol. Like, we're 19 years old, like that's, you do that normally. But, I started to really slip into a lot of just depression, but I didn't know that it was depression. Like, I didn't outwardly think like, oh, this is what this is. I just thought like, this is what I'm doing with my life. It's like, it felt so unmeaningful after he died. So I was like, none of this matters anymore, And so I just started to drink and smoke and do all of the things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. And again, it slowly happens, I started not eating, and it was one of those things where it wasn't intentional. Mm-hmm. It just happened. And so I think that's really a pretty powerful thing in general, is when you have a situation going on, it's usually pretty gradual of things that happen. And then all of a sudden, that kind of happens with a lot of different situations, like battered women's situations, right? Like, it starts off maybe a little bit small, but then kind of grows and grows and grows. And then, before you know it, you don't really realize
how
everything
deep you are.
And how deep it is. And so that's kind of like the similar thing with, what I would call like an eating disorder.
Yeah. So when does that all change for you? Right? I know we have probably about 10 minutes left.
Yeah, sorry.
When does that switch happen? Right? Like, what is it that you want people to know about grief, and how does Jake influence you to get into social work, which is where kind of you are now? But when does that transition start to taking care of yourself and your healing actually starting?
It didn't really start right away. It probably started. So I got a house. So that's the other thing too, as well, is no one tells you, how to, first of all, deal with having, your husband die, and also getting $700,000 at 19 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, so I did a lot of really horrible things as far as...
Is that like a payout for from him passing? They put a price to his death?
That's actually the life insurance.
Okay.
So each military person gets a life insurance policy.
Okay.
And it's $500,000, and then the government gives $200,000 for like burial and certain things like that. So essentially $700,000. And when that happens, you're at 19, because I was never, the type, when I was growing up even, I was never the type to like be interested in money or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care about any of that materialistic stuff. And so for me, it was really apparent that that I was in trouble. And so I decided to go to therapy. And I still have my wonderful therapist to this day. It's been 15 years,
That's impressive.
14 years now. Yeah, it's crazy. He knows every single thing about me, and it's great. It's great to have that. He's seen all different parts of my journey and how I, present or whatever. That's very lucky for somebody
absolutely.
to have something like that and to go along this journey with you. I ended up getting into social work because I was like, I have to pick something, it's kind of like one of those situations, but then I fell in love with it. And so I got my bachelor's degree, worked my way through college, worked my way through graduate school as well, had a couple of roommates, there's certain things like that, let people take advantage of me and like my money, let people kind of influence me, paid for vacations for people, like cars, all of the things. Any type of, mistake that you can probably make, I've made it with the amount of money that I had. And one of the things that I never wanted to do, I remember sitting in my grief and kind of going through the therapeutic portion of it, and thinking about like telling my therapist all the time, I never want to feel like the victim. I never want people to sit there and be like, oh, poor Crystal. Like, that's why I'm friends with her or whatever, is because like, I can't not be,
Yeah.
And for me, that was the wake up call, because I was doing everything else for everybody else, had no boundaries, like within myself, had no self-respect, had no, like, I just woke up one day and like I mentioned, it kind of gradually happens where you wake up and you're like, I'm sick of living this life.
Yeah.
And so you change, and, those changes are gradual too as well, right? Like it's not like someone just comes out and says like, all right, I'm going to change everything about my life and it's going to be so manageable, because it's definitely not, but doing it in like those strategic like increments like I did, right? Changing maybe the going to school and then doing, and then trying to find a job and all of those things. I feel like a lot of it is life just has happened to me. I've always felt like I've never been in control of it,
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone that might be struggling with grief or loss, or, maybe even being a child of addicts?
I would say don't forget to sit with it. I think sitting with those feelings is really important, and being able to feel the immensity of those feelings. I mean, let's be honest, it's not fun work at all. But I think it's necessary for healing.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it now. Whereas like, if you would have talked to 19-year-old Crystal, she would have just said a totally different story.
Yeah.
She would have probably said like, I don't know, drink and smoke weed. Sounds pretty good to me,
Yeah.
Whereas like, now it's like for me, what I think about grief is that no one can take away, and I have this actually tattooed on my back. I can show it to you as well, but essentially it's like there's this poem that I believe it's a song by Leona Lewis. It's called Yesterday, and it says, they can take the dreams, they can take, the memory or whatever, they can take all of the things that we'll never know, they can take everything, just take it away, but they can never have yesterday. And so that is really powerful to me, because it's very true. No matter what, they can never take my memories, they can never take who Jake was to me, who, like the person that he was. And I think that and because Jake was such a wonderful, like he was such a wonderful, humble human being, that I try to live my life in that and like help other people to gain those skills as well, whatever that works within them, right? Like it's all about developing your own skills. We all have our own skill sets and we all see things differently, whether it's, humble for you might not be humble for me,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Certain things like that.
Yeah.
But being able to develop those skills and those feelings is powerful.
Yeah.
And so that's been the change for me. That's been the mark of true healing. And don't get me wrong, of course I think back and I, do have some moments where I do cry and, and I think that's always going to be the way it is. I mean, even with, my grandparents have been gone for 12 years and it's still very difficult for me. I mean, I still have a lot of, grief that I still have to work through. But I think you never stop grieving. I mean, I feel like I'm going to sound like a meme over here, but like, it's the price of love. It's like a mark that you loved someone and, that you can live, like that they can live on, like through your values and your skills and everything that the person that they were taught you essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
In some way.
If someone is listening and wants to connect with you, where can they best connect with you?
So yeah, Crystal T Does Therapy on Instagram. And then I also have a website, crystaltdoestherapy.com.
And one final question for you. If you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
I would say don't forget to have compassion for yourself. That's most important. I wish I back then felt the way I do about myself today. Just I wish that I was compassionate about the things that I was going through. I was more so like I turned that anger and all of that sadness and everything towards myself. And I talked to myself horribly. I always brought it upon myself of it's all your fault. It's no one else's fault type of thing. And so I would say definitely being compassionate.
All right. Well, any last words? Any final things that you wish you said that you didn't say?
I would say just one other quick thing.
Yeah.
To add on to that, being compassionate about yourself. This is why this tattoo that I have on my arm is so powerful to me. It's actually a quote by, and I'm going to butcher the name, I promise, but I think it's Johann van Goeth, I believe is his name. He's like a poet, essentially. And it says, all the knowledge I possess, everyone else can acquire, but my heart is all my own. And so for me, telling my story, it really almost feels like I had my heart kind of broken and I like was able to put it back together the way that I wanted and the way that works for me. And that wasn't something that I was gifted or afforded as a child. And so to get to do that is just like a really special journey. And so I know a lot of people, they get tattoos to kind of commemorate certain areas and journeys of their life. And that's what I did is I got this tattoo and it really means more to me than any of my other ones because it's really just about me and taking back my power and my control and learning and understanding about myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, Crystal, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Your journey through love, loss, and healing is a powerful reminder that grief isn't about getting over something. It's about learning how to carry it. Your strength and the way that you've turned your pain into purpose will resonate with so many people who are trying to navigate their own struggles with loss. To anyone listening, if you're grieving, know that you're not alone and there is no timeline for healing. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on For the Haters.
Thanks for listening to For the Haters. Don't forget to connect with us on socials, follow, like, and share to help more people find this community, and remember, they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. The more we grow, the more lives we can impact.
What's your name and share your story? We'll be waiting.